Getting your pricing right for your market. Yay, you made it. I am so happy for you. Hey, it's Christian Grattan. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the industry standard formula so you can price profitably for your market. Yes, for your market. This information can separate you from sitting at your day job and wishing you were a photographer to actually having a thriving business doing something you love. In previous videos, I covered how people don't implement this pricing for a couple of reasons. Either they don't know how, they are scared and have an unhelpful mindset, or a bit of both. Understanding and implementing this is important for the health of your business because selling physical products can create a ton of profit for you. And that's what we're going to tackle right now. By the end of this training, you will know how to set your product prices. To get the most out of this training for you, your business, and your bank account, you need to pay attention. That means no Instagram or Messenger or like Candy Crush or whatever. Now, you should have something to take notes with, and a spreadsheet app would not hurt anyone's feelings. I know, spreadsheets are not my idea of fun either, but making a good profit and having a blast as a photographer are, and if I need to get through some spreadsheets to do it, well then so be it. A spreadsheet is going to make your life a lot easier here because there is some math. I'm going to show you how to figure out different options for your pricing based on different markups and other variables, and a spreadsheet is going to make this fast. We're going to cover the industry standard formula that thousands of photographers have used to price their products profitably. Now, you need to get your pricing sorted before you start in-person sales or selling of any kind. I teach the 4 steps to IPS, and in the first step, figuring out the products you offer and getting the prices worked out is integral. Make sure to check out the other videos we have dedicated to IPS on this site. In this training, we are also going to break down that formula and go over each of its elements so you know why you are pricing your products this way. We're also going to go through examples so you can easily model this and price your own work profitably. In those examples, we're going to price the same product but factor in different amounts for how much you get paid every year and different markups. This will show you how the formula works so you can apply it yourself. Because at the end of the day, I want you to be confident in what your prices are, as well as how to price your products. This pricing may seem high to some of you and maybe freak you out a little, and that makes sense. If you're charging $6 for an 8x10 print, you will freak out when you see what you should have been charging this whole time. You also might feel bad, like you should have been doing this all along. I get it, but that's a bit of an unhelpful thought. So let's move on to the fact that you're here now and you are going to master this, implement it, and your business is going to have an awesome year because you did this work. After you apply this formula, you might see the prices and say, "Ooh, that will never fly in my market." I totally understand how you feel. It makes sense. If you've been undercharging for your products, you would naturally think that it's what they cost and that people won't pay anymore. Or, and I see this one a bunch, your product prices are too low and people are not buying as much as you would like. That's because people don't buy something just because it's inexpensive. They buy for a lot of reasons, and price is just one of the factors. You're also afraid that if you increase your prices, then you won't make any sales. A lot of photographers I train felt the same way about upping their prices at first. They felt that their market could not support it, or clients might get mad at them when they go from $6 for a print to $100. What they found was that When paired with a good in-person sales process, clients would gladly spend more per product and buy more items. Not only were they making more profit, but they found that there was room to take their prices up even more. This isn't to say that it's all roses and gelato when you take your prices to where they should be. Some clients might complain about prices, and it's okay. I want to prepare you for that. It's totally normal for clients to be grumpy about prices. Here are a couple of things to remember. Sometimes clients want to complain about prices regardless of what they actually are. They'll complain if a print is $15 or $150. So if you're going to have to listen to them complain, you might as well get paid for it. Also, don't take it personally. It's not about you. Pro tip, when clients complain about prices, it's about their relationship with money, not how good you are as a photographer. People sometimes like to pin things on the photography when it's about something totally different. I'm going to share with you a little story so you can see how sometimes what the client says has nothing to do with you. And you know what? Don't take it personally. Okay, one time I had this client who told me that I didn't capture the spirit of her party. Okay, and as we were going through the images, I noticed that she complained at any of the decor shots that showed the walls of the room where the party was. If it was a close-up of a tablescape, I nailed it. But a wide shot with walls, oh no, that was terrible. And it was odd. She was mad at walls. It turns out that she didn't like that she had had her party at her country club instead of a Manhattan nightclub. And she really felt that when she saw the actual room. 0% my decision where the party was, but somehow I didn't do my job right. So if they complain about the price, don't take it personally. Sometimes people take out what is going on in their world on you. Okay, on a lighter note, I teach this style of pricing all the time, and photographers come back to me and say that the client loved their pictures and didn't bat an eye at the prices. This happens most of the time. We almost always underestimate what the client is willing to pay for family heirlooms. One important element of this is how you frame the pricing. I go over this more in any of the in-person sales content here. So if you want to get a better grasp of how to structure your IPS, check it out. If you take the time to prep the client for product, empower them with an understanding of what their investment could be, and then use a visualization tool like the Wall Designer, the online Wall Designer that we have available on the site. Okay, lastly, there's a part of pricing theory called price anchoring. This is when you show someone a high price first so that the slightly lower price seems reasonable. You can do this with your product prices. If you show them some products and they bristle at the price, you can always come back to them and tell them that, oh, your printer is having a flash sale, and you will pass the savings along to them. Of course, this sale is for a limited time, so if they don't take action quickly, they're going to lose out. This is a way to employ scarcity and motivate them. Now, I would not recommend that you do this all the time, but if you're trying this pricing out and you want to have a backup plan in case it really is too much for your test subjects, then you have an option to see how it goes and take the price down without eroding your prices in general. Okay, let's jump into the formula for profitable product pricing. I talked about this in previous videos, but this is the formula for profitable products based on the PPA benchmark survey. PPA surveyed thousands of photographers to find out how to price and what the markup needs to be. And the formula is your time to fulfill a product order measured in dollars plus the total cost to fulfill that product, so those two things together, multiplied by 2.86. 2.86 is the minimum markup you should do. And now this equals the final price to your client. Okay, there you go, final price to the client. Let's go through each element of the formula, all right? First off is your time to fulfill a product order in dollars. In order to figure this out, you need to know a couple of things. How much you make per minute, okay? And how many minutes it takes to get a print from the order into your client's hands or hanging on their wall, okay? Let's start with how much you make per minute of your time, all right? The first thing we need to know is how much do you want to make a year, all right? That's reasonable. Now, this is where your market will factor in. Your pricing will take your market into account because you're working and paying bills in the same area as your client, okay? If people in your market don't make a ton of money, then your expenses will be in line with that. If you work in a major city, your expenses will be higher and you will need to make more money. Your annual salary will reflect the market that you're in. In some markets, $50,000 is great, and in other markets, $100,000 is just getting by. So, how much do you want to make a year? Write that number down on your spreadsheet. And don't worry, I'm going to go through some different options for what you make so you can see what different annual incomes do to your print prices. Okay. Then you break that number down into weeks. All right, there are 52 weeks a year. Say you're taking 2 weeks off for vacation. That means that you're working for 50 weeks. Okay, so divide how much you want to make a year by 50. And that gives you what you make per week. Then divide that by 40 because there are 40 hours in a week. And this is what you make per hour. Next up, divide that number by 60 because, well, there's 60 minutes in an hour. Okay, shortcut. Take the number you want to make a year and divide that by 120,000. All right, this gives you how much you make per minute. Next, it's time to figure out how many minutes it takes for you to work on the image once it's ordered. Okay, now this is about your process. Write down all the steps you go through after you get an order. Here are some options of what those steps could be, just to kind of like, spark your brain. Okay, you're gonna pull the image, maybe you're gonna do some retouching, you're gonna do any last minute cropping and resizing because now you know what it's gonna go into, like, the aspect ratio you need, design work if it's a book, you're gonna place the actual order. Then once you get the print, you unpack it and inspect it. You're going to email the client and let them know that it's ready. You're going to repackage it. And this, by the way, is included with our pro service. Okay? You're going to ship it to them. You're going to invite them to pick it up. You're going to chat with them when they do pick it up, or you're going to deliver and install it. Okay? Go through and estimate how long it takes you to do each of the steps in your process. Now, if you have an order that you're about to process, set a timer and time how long each step takes you. Chances are it takes you longer than you've estimated. Erring on the side of more time is better here. We don't want you charging 10 minutes for your time when it really takes you 40. Part of the reason we figured this out is that you need to be paid for your time as if you were an employee of the business. Also, eventually, you do want to have someone else do this. You need to factor in the cost of that employee doing this work to fulfill the order from the start. To find the cost to you in time, take that number of minutes to fulfill the order and multiply it by your per minute earnings, which we just figured out. This gives you your time to fulfill a print order in dollars and gets added with the next element in the formula. Okay, and that is the total cost to fulfill one print or one product. Okay, this one is simple. This is what most people do when they first start out. They multiply their lab cost of a print by a number and presto. The thing is, there are additional costs beyond the actual cost of a print. There's not a ton of them, but let's cover them here. You've got the product wholesale cost, okay, cool. Shipping from the lab, shipping to the client, framing. Now, luckily, we do custom framing of your prints, so you can get that all done at once. And this is fantastic because it saves you so much time. And remember, you're charging for time, okay? So you want to save time. If you want to come in with a low number and keep it profitable, save that time. Okay, repackaging, okay. Add those up, and you are ready for the next step. You are going to add the time in dollars and the total cost of goods, and you have your total cost to fulfill a print. The next step is to multiply your total cost to fulfill by the next element in the formula, the markup. The markup is based on the PPA benchmark survey. They surveyed thousands of photographers and learned that in order to run a successful studio, your total cost to fulfill, so that's your time plus the cost of goods, can be a maximum of 35% of the total price to the client. That means if it costs you $35 in time and cost of goods, then you need to charge at least $100. See that $100 bill there? That's what you charge, okay? To figure out what the price should be so that your total costs are 35% of the price to the client, take your cost and multiply it by 2.86. That's where we get this number from. Now, this does not mean that you can't multiply by a higher number. By all means, please do. This is the minimum you need to charge. Okay, so what about the other 65% of the price to the client? An excellent question. That covers your operating expenses. There it is, excellent question. That covers your operating expenses and the profit that the business makes, okay? The right price for you and your business is whatever works best for you. However, this is the lowest it should be. I suggest you use a multiplier that stretches you out of your comfort zone a little bit. Remember that a lot of photographers think that what they are charging is so much money and their clients end up being fine with it. I would hate for you to miss out on profit simply because you are a bit scared. Okay, now that we understand the elements of the formula and how they go together, let's put it into practice and play with a couple of examples. Okay, we're going to run through the formula with a couple of different options for what you make per year and markups so you can see how it works. Then you can take what you've learned here and apply it to yourself and your business. All right, how much you make a year. Look at this fun, scary chart. Okay, let's play with how much you make a year. We're going to break that down to the minute. Remember, the shortcut is to take that number and divide by the number you want to make a year and divide by 120,000. So if you want to make $50,000 a year, divide that by 120,000 and you make 41.6 cents per minute. So we have it there per minute in dollars, which is 0.416, and in cents. Okay, chart's pretty self-explanatory. If you want to make $60,000 a year, then you make 50 cents a minute. If you want to make 75, then you make 60.25 cents per minute. So take a minute, maybe pause this, to look at this chart and find out where you want to start. All right, here's your looking at the chart time. Okay. The next thing to figure out is how much time it takes to fulfill a print. You need to know what each step in your workflow is. If you don't have those steps written down, please do so. Now, here are the suggestions that you can take, but for the sake of example, we're going to use pulling the image, final retouching, placing the order, inspecting the order, repackaging it, notifying the client, and shipping to the client. Okay. Then how long does each one take? So you've got pulling the image is 5 minutes, final retouching 10, placing the order 3, inspecting the order when it arrives 2, you're fast at that. Repackaging 5, notifying the client 5, shipping to the client 5, fast at that one again. Your total time in minutes is 35 minutes, all right? Now, how much does it cost? Well, let's see some options for how much that costs based on what you earn per year. So, if you make $50,000 a year, that cost in time to fulfill is $14.58. At $70,000, it's $20.42. And at $90,000, good for you making $90,000, it is $26.25. Okay? And at $100,000, $110,000, you broke the six-figure mark. You could do it. I always knew you could. Okay? That is $32.08. Great. Now, the next step is to add this number to the cost of goods sold. So let's figure that out. Okay, let's say we're doing an 11 by 14 luster print, and the cost on that one is $4.59, and shipping from the lab for that one print is $6.95. Now, I'm repackaging it and shipping it to the client. So repackaging supplies are $2 and shipping to the client is $7. Let's add that up. Look at this lovely chart. We got lab cost, boop, boop, boop. Total here on this one is $20.54. So let's do the math here. Boom, boom, boom. It's time for the formula. If you want to make $50,000 a year and it costs you $14.58 in time, and the cost of goods is $20.54, you add them both together and you're going to get $35.12. Now, next up is the markup. Okay, so let's go with the lowest you should charge. Okay, this is where your total cost to fulfill is 35% of the price to your client. Now, to get this, we multiply the total cost to you by the markup, which is 2.86. And from there, ta-da, guess what? We get $100.45. Okay, cool. And this is really in line with what we had talked about before. The total cost is 35%, and so basically $35 ends up in your cost, ends up being $100 right there. Makes sense. Okay. But what if you want to make $60,000 a year? That's an excellent question. I applaud you giving yourself a raise. Now, a lot of the numbers are going to stay the same. Like the cost of goods, like the lab and shipping, that won't change. It's still $20.54. The cost in time and the final number will change. Okay, our cost in time is 50 cents per minute because it's $60,000. Now, the 35-minute fulfillment time with that cost is $17.50. So we add the cost of goods sold, $20.54. We add that to the $17.50, and we get $38.04. Okay. Next up is the markup. And that's going to stay the same. We're going to multiply by 2.86 and the final price of the client is going to be $100. Oof, it's going to be $100.79. Okay, there's a lot to absorb here, but basically we've only changed one thing, which is that we've gone up to $60,000, which has given us 50 cents per minute, and so our time to fulfill has changed, okay? And you can do the same math with any amount you want to make per year, all right? And here's the chart from earlier, 60,000. We're going to go through it one more time. 60,000 right there. There's your time to fulfill. There's your time to fulfill. There's your total cost to fulfill the product. There's the markup. There's your final price to the client, all right? You're looking at it as the formula now. Okay, So you can do the same math for any amount you want to make per year. Here's the chart from the earlier slide. Use it to find what you want to charge and what the corresponding per minute earnings are. Okay. So far we've been using the minimum markup, but I'd like it a little bit more if you did a little bit better. So here are some different markups for different profit margins. Right, we're going to go through them really quickly. So we've gone through 35% of your cost of goods. There's that markup there, which is the 2.86, and your operating costs and profit percentage. Okay, now let's say you're going to go to 25% of your cost of goods. That means your markup is going to be 4, and that your operating cost and profit is going to be 75%. So here you go. This is the whole breakdown. Okay, let's explore the same situation as before, but this time we're going to use a different markup. And we're going to use the same numbers as we did before. We're just going to swap out the markup. So we're going to go back to that $50,000. If you want to make $50,000 a year, and then it costs you $14.58 in time, the cost of goods is still $20.54. You add them both together, and you get $35.12. And if you want to have your total cost of goods be 25% of the final price, you're going to multiply by that number 4, and you're going to get $140.48. Okay, now the same markup, we can do the same markup, but this time if you want to make $60,000 a year. Okay, so your cost in time at $60,000 a year is 50 cents a minute, and that 35 minutes of fulfillment is still $17.50. Your cost of goods is still going to be $20.54. You're going to add them together, and you're going to get $38.04, and then guess what? Here is the markup, okay, and that's straight up 4, and this brings the total price of a print to your client to $152.16. Okay, now it's your turn. How much do you want to make per year? What does that break down to per minute? What are the steps in your workflow to get a product in the client's hand? How long does it take for you to do each of these steps? Add those together to get the total time. Multiply the total time by how much you make per minute to get the total time it takes for you to fulfill your order in dollars. What are the costs associated with getting the product in the client's hand? Add them all up to get your cost to fulfill the order. Add that to the total time to fulfill in dollars. Okay. How much do you want your markup to be? Take the markups from the chart and apply them to the total cost, that's time plus the cost of goods, and see how you feel about it. How much do you think your client will invest? What feels a bit uncomfortable for you? Take the decisions you made here and apply them to different products you offer. Once you do that, you'll have your pricing nailed down. I want to take a second to congratulate you. Yay, congratulations! Doing something new is not the easiest thing in the world, especially around your photography business. You might be a bit scared to implement this pricing for all of those reasons that we covered in the previous videos. And you know what? It's okay. It's totally normal to be a little bit or a lot freaked out when you are doing something new. And it's tied to something that you love and that you value. So take a step back and look at this as an experiment. You're just trying this out to see what works for you. Now, this is the industry standard that has worked for thousands of other photographers. and you're going to explore and see how it can work for you. Now, if you've been struggling with making a profit, IPS, or your prices in general, this is going to help. And I want to commend you for acknowledging that there's room for improvement and getting the help that you need to make positive changes in your business. Now, this can be a little bit confusing and you might not think you're doing it right. So, if you want to keep the positive changes going, you can click on the button below to schedule a one-on-one consultation with an account manager. That way you can check to make sure you're doing this correctly, go over your product selection and see if it's right for your clients, and it'll help you get past any blocks or limiting beliefs you have about pricing. I am so glad you went on this pricing journey with me. Make sure to check out the other videos and the pro service so you can up-level your skills and make that money.